This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Three Chinese astronauts aboard the Shenzhen-12 spacecraft successfully docked with the core module of the country's first space station. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy predicts peaceful election period in final rally. And Nigerian President Buhari expected in Borno State for official visits. Hello and a warm welcome to Africa Live. I am Peninah Karibe. Let's have a look at other stories coming up this hour. In business, Nigeria plans to trim its import bill by 35%. And ahead in sports, meet Egyptian women trying to fight stigma by training men on how to box. China's Shenzhen-12 manned spaceship has successfully docked with the Tianhe core module on China's Tiangong space station. The spaceship completed orbital status setting after entering the orbit and conducted a fast autonomous rendezvous and docking with the front docking port of Tianhe. It forms a three-module complex with the cargo craft Tianzhou-2. The Shenzhen-12 was launched from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwest China's Gobi Desert. The astronauts will live there for 3 months to help build the station. Shenzhen-12 is the first manned mission in assembling China's first space station. Its launch is a pivotal step for a series of key technical verification tasks. The three astronauts will carry out the work in orbit for 3 months. Let's take a look at some of the major tasks awaiting them.
After entering the Earth's orbit, Shenzhen-12 will first conduct a quick rendezvous and dock with the core module of the space station. The crew will then have to perform a series of initialization tasks.
When the core module of the space station was launched, it had a lot of equipment that could not be installed in the station right away. Also, they were affected by the launch environment. When we get up there, we probably need a few days to install or reboot them.
The first test is the safety and reliability of the mechanical arm, as well as its flexibility. We also need to test the astronauts' coordination ability whilst wearing pressure suits outside the capsule.
What's different in this mission is that the environmental control and life support system in the core module can recycle oxygen and water, so the supplies will last longer.
It is regenerative, completely different from the previous 6 manned missions. This one is regenerative, which means we can recycle, purify, and reuse water and oxygen supplies. We have a lot of equipment with us, so it will take more time to get the system ready.
One of the most important tasks for the Shenzhen-12 mission crew is to carry out 6 or 7 hours of activities outside the capsule. On the Shenzhen-8 mission in 2008, Liu Boming assisted Jiuquan with those tasks. This time, the tasks will be more difficult and will take longer, requiring all 3 astronauts to work in tandem in using the robotic arms.
Then we'll perform some tasks related to the ventilation fluid field, like operating the regeneration subsystem and the establishment of our living and working environment.
In space, the robotic arm will become the astronaut's right-hand man to carry out a large number of extravehicular operations, including the handling of large equipment and personnel transfer. In addition, the 3 astronauts will carry out a series of operations, including extravehicular maintenance, equipment replacement, and payload for scientific applications.
In the vast deserts of northwest China is a place where the country's space dreams once took off. More than 4 decades ago, China's first satellite was launched there. Liu Jiaxin takes us on a historic tour.
Hi everyone, welcome to our tour of all things space. We're in the middle of the northwestern China. You see the Gobi Desert? So later I'm going to show you a real launch site. Look how giant it is. I've never been closer to a launch pad like that. This is where China's first satellite, Dongfang Hong 1, was launched. After its successful launch on April 24, 1970, China officially became the fifth country in the world that can independently launch satellites after the Soviet Union, the United States, France, and Japan. And after its launch, Chinese scientist Chen Xuesen proposed to the government that China should have its own manned space program. Let me take you to an old rocket observatory, which used to be a secret. It's very chilly inside, and they said it's about 13 meters deep down there. Let's go check it out. Watch your step. Watch your head. Okay. So this was the operating hall, and these are all operating devices that were used. The lines on the wall said we must catch up with and surpass the advanced world level in the near future. How exciting is that? And wow, if you look at the televisions on the wall, these are our nation's first command and display system. So this is a periscope that can observe the launch of the rocket. Let me take a look. Wow. Even today, the picture is quite clear. I'd say I'm more into space than I came here. A very impressive place to witness China's space dreams from ground zero upwards, giving us a glimpse into a journey that began with many firsts. But time to go now. Stay tuned to our space tour. Bye bye.
刘嘉欣 CGTN Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center.
China on Wednesday launched its manned Shenzhen 12 spacecraft. The launch attracted great attention from Zambian experts. Gift Sichone, an expert in radio astronomy, has hailed China's aerospace achievements. During an interview, he said that should the mission of the Shenzhen 12 manned spaceflight be successful, China will be one step closer to its goal of establishing a space station. In addition, the technologies that China has mastered in the aerospace field can also benefit the entire world.
If this mission succeeds in keeping these astronauts, 3 of them, with whatever job they're going to do for the next 90 days in space, you have to clap for such an achievement. That is a kind of achievement which only a select group of countries have achieved. No one single country on this planet would have achieved such a feat on its own. So, in my opinion, we have to look at things for what they are. It is going to be a very, very huge achievement.
The African Commission on Human and People's Rights is officially beginning an inquiry on Ethiopia's Tigray region today. This is following the launch of a fact-finding mission to Tigray in early May. The Commission is tasked with the protection and promotion of human rights on the African continent. According to a statement published by the Commission, investigations will be conducted on the ground and in neighboring countries. Conflict in Tigray has forced hundreds of thousands of people from their homes. The United Nations is now warning of a looming man-made famine. Troops fighting there have been accused of using starvation as a weapon of war. The Ethiopian government has denied there is a famine in Tigray. CGTN's Gurum Chala now joins us live from Addis Ababa for more on this. Gurum, can you give us more details on these investigations and the team's exact mandate?
Peninah, as you've said, it's the African Commission for Human and People's Rights, which is the organ of the African Union Commission itself, which is going to conduct the work that is expected to be done in the next few days' time. As you remember, the initial point for this one is the report by the UN and other parties that human rights abuses have been seen in the Tigray regional state after what the Ethiopian government called a law enforcement mission has been completed in that region. Now, this mission is going to be first handling investigations in that region as per the international law if human rights abuses have been made. And also it will gather many information so that it can concretize, and at the end they're going to report back to the African Union Commission. So we're expecting this job to begin sooner.
Right. So the statement by the African Union appeals for cooperation by all stakeholders. Is there support for the AU team?
Well, definitely. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government time and again has been announcing that if there are human rights abuses, seen in the Tigray regional state, first of all, it says that it is trying to bring those people behind these perpetrators into justice, and the international community is welcome to investigate. And the African Union took the initial job of doing that, as we've said earlier. So the government is adamant that it will give every and any necessary support that this commission needs to accomplish this job. So we can safely say that, yes, the government is happy and it will help.
All right. So in the meantime, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has predicted a peaceful election period next week as parties in the country brought to a close their election campaigns. He was speaking from the town of Jimma, where he held his final rally ahead of the key polls. Opposition parties in some regions are boycotting the exercise, which will be the sixth since the end of military rule in Ethiopia 30 years ago. The United States has criticized the decision to push ahead with the twice-delayed vote. The polls were originally scheduled for August 2020, but were postponed, with the officials citing the COVID-19 pandemic. The Monday polls, although billed as nationwide, will not be held in one-fifth of the country's constituencies, including in the Tigray region that has been racked by conflict.
The forces who will compete in this election, those who love and want to serve Ethiopia, who magnify the unity and liberty of Ethiopia, all of them, I wish them the best of luck in this election. Our issue isn't protecting Ethiopia's unity. Rather, it is making Ethiopia the strength of the Horn of Africa.
So, Girum, some would say that the country is gearing for elections in one of the most precarious times in the nation's history. We've got the fear of famine on the one hand, the conflict on the other. How are these issues likely to impact elections?
Peninah, the speech you've just played, we've been attending it from Jimma, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed himself is going to run for the nation's parliament, and perhaps also his government is going to dominate here. As you've seen, there were so many thousands of people coming out on the streets. On his speech, to answer your question, he has guaranteed that Ethiopia is ready and will execute this election with no problems. The famine issue that has been raised time and again has also been, said by the government that this is just a unnecessary report, lacks a lot of data in it, and this doesn't really define the situation in the Tigray region. The conflict situation, yes, of course, it will shadow, but then again, generally the country is said to be safe to handle elections. That's according to the country's electoral board. So all in all, we can say that Ethiopia is ready, and in about exactly 4 days' time, Ethiopia's important general elections will be held, and we have to wait and see if this is going to be true or false, whether violence is going to affect it or not. But for now, the government is happy that it is heading to the elections and no problem is going to happen.
All right, Girum, thank you very much for joining us. Girum Chela live in Addis Ababa. A 1,098 carat diamond, believed to be the third largest gem quality stone ever mined, has been discovered in Botswana. The discovery was made by a joint venture between Anglo-Americans De Beers and the government. The gem was presented to the president of Botswana by the acting managing director of Botswana Diamond Company. The stone, the third largest in the world, follows after the 3,106 carat Cullinan stone recovered in South Africa in 1905 and the 1,109 carat Lesedi Lerona unearthed in Botswana in 2015. Botswana's Minister for Minerals says the discovery of the yet-to-be-named stone could not have come at a better time after the COVID-19 pandemic hit diamond sales in 2020. Meanwhile, last week, hundreds of people traveled across South Africa to a village in the KwaZulu-Natal province after being tipped off on the unearthing of possible diamonds there. Informal excavation has been ongoing since the weekend following the discovery by a herdsman who dug up the first stone. CGTN's Daniela Pearson brings us the details.
Hundreds of people dig through the dirt in the village of Gwahlati in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province. As they excavate, they are hoping their fate has finally turned for the better. Trade has already begun for these colorless, unidentified stones said to be diamonds.
This means our lives will change because no one had a proper job. I do odd jobs here and there. When I returned home with them, the family was really overjoyed.
South Africa's Department of Mineral Resources is set to send a team of geological and mining experts to collect samples. However, the lack of analysis has not deterred the optimistic fortune seekers.
I had not seen or touched a diamond in my life. It's my first time touching it here. I hope this will make a difference at home because we are really struggling. So I hope things will be better.
Some of the diggers are selling the stones with a starting price ranging from $7 to $21.
This will really help the community. We hope crime will come to an end, especially crimes against women, because the youth do all these things because of unemployment.
The provincial government is requesting those active at the site to make way for authorities to conduct a proper inspection. There are also fears that activities there could potentially be spreading coronavirus. Daniela Pearson, CGTN.
And CGTN's Angela Kupler joins us live from Johannesburg for more on this. Angela, what's the latest on this treasure hunt?
Well, I'm 3 hours away from where the actual fortune seekers or treasure hunters are operating right now. And whatever's happened since the start of this gold diamond rush, should we call it, thousands more people from around the country are actually gathering in the area and staking their claims out and starting to dig. And this is after images started being posted on social media of people showing what they thought were diamonds to their friends. That trade has started happening. This is, of course, is a very rural area in KwaZulu-Natal province, and unemployment levels, as we know, are high, sometimes ranging between 30 and 70% of people are unemployed in the area. So they're desperate. So any news of an opportunity to make some money is being grabbed at, and those rumors of the diamonds or purported diamonds being found in the area have led to more people from around the country sort of congregating on the spot. So as it stands right now, people are still flocking in there, and the police are a little bit anxious because, as Daniela was saying, there is a chance that this could become and spiral out of control and become a super spreader event. As it carries on now, people are still uncovering those stones, and as you heard, there is trade happening. We'll see if those numbers in trade continue or increase over the next couple of days or so. Peninah.
And we know that experts were expected to visit that area. What have they found out?
In fact, they arrived there on Monday. They spent the day there, and those were the regulator for precious metals and diamonds. The DMR, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, sent an expert team across, as well as their investigators were also on site, having a look at what the stones were, doing a preliminary analysis on site. Obviously, they don't have the lab equipment that they have back in Johannesburg and Pretoria, so they've taken a sample of those stones back and have promised that they will announce the results of their findings and analysis within a month. So up until then, it's likely that the activities are going to continue there. People will continue trading. The police services are on hand to monitor the situation. We don't know what kind of stones been uncovered. Lots of speculation at the moment, and that speculation is leading to more people arriving and more trade happening. We'll have to see what the results are from the DMR once that's announced. At the moment, though, we have no idea what kind of stone has been mined or found in the area. Peninah.
All right, Angela, thank you for that update. Angela Kupler live in Johannesburg. It's 19 minutes into the hour. You're watching Africa Live. Let's take a short break. Coming up, Nigeria's President Buhari expected in Borno State for an official visit. And how an organization in Kenya is using street art to counter misinformation on the coronavirus pandemic.
When I look at Kibera through my lens, I see the happiness, joy, kindness, and the togetherness of the people of Kibera.
I also love the power of social media because it has really played a very, very big role. We did videos, and those videos were sent through social media.
nikikanyaga tu kwa court huwa na feel kuna kitu natafuta na ng'ang'ana, yaani hata niwe mzuri kushinda na dada.
Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari is scheduled to visit Borno State to appraise the security situation there. Borno State Governor Babagana Umaru Zulum explained the reasons for the president's visit during a statewide televised address. The president is also expected to commission various projects, including the first phase of 10,000 houses for the resettlement of refugees and the internally displaced people. Let's now cross over to Phil Haza live in Abuja. Phil, give us an update on that official visit to Maiduguri by President Buhari.
Well, thank you. At the moment, we know that the president has arrived in Borno State, Maiduguri. That's the northeastern part of Nigeria. He's playing touchdown about an hour ago, and he's been received by top dignitaries like the governor of the state, Babagana Zulum. He's also received by top security chiefs and members of the National Assembly who arrived earlier to give him that honorary reception. He's also expected to touch down, or rather visit the theater command of operation. That's part of the security apparatus of that region, what the soldiers have been engaged in. He's supposed to come up with some kind of appraisal, you know, because one of the reasons why he's visiting is because he's concerned about the security situation and of course the humanitarian situation in that state and the region. So part of the reasons why he's also going to the state is to commission some projects, like you stated, the housing project, of which 4,000 units of housing out of the 10,000 have already been done. That's according to the governor. He's also expected to, also inspect a power plant. He's also supposed to inspect the establishment of a college in the state. These are some of the things that the president is going to inspect, and all of this he's expected to do today because it's a one-day visit, and he's expected back to the federal capital, Abuja, before the end of the day.
All right, Phil Haza in Abuja, many thanks for that. Now, this visit comes days after President Muhammadu Buhari acknowledged his government's failure to end insecurity in parts of the country. Earlier, I spoke to Malik Samuel, a researcher at the Institute of Security Studies in Abuja, Nigeria, and I began by asking about the significance of President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to Borno State, especially after that statement by the president.
The significance of his visit to Borno State cannot be understated. Especially for the people who have had to face more than a decade of this Boko Haram crisis, and also for the troops who are in the front line. And especially given what he's going there for, like the state governor said, he's going there to commission to assess the security situation in the region, and also to commission some projects that have been implemented by both the federal government and the state government. So I think it's an important visit, particularly for the first reason, which is to assess the security situation there. When we get to the point where communities, displaced persons are able to go back to their communities, when people are able to go about their normal daily activities, when people are able to access their farmlands, when people are able to leave the displacement camps and go back to their homes, I think that is when we will say yes. We've seen a great result when it comes to ending this crisis. There's a need to always assess your moves, reassess what you're doing, to see that you are at least one step ahead of the group. ISIS back then, I think, presented more threats to the Western interest than Boko Haram. So it was it was a no-brainer that the West would want to join the fight against ISIS. But that is not to say we've not, and there are no international support in the fight against Boko Haram. I specifically mention, I would like to mention the multinational joint task force, which is a regional force made up of Nigeria, Chad, Cameroon, Niger, with Benin as well. You know, just recently, I think the G7 pledged some money to as part of its support for this crisis. But we need to ask ourselves: is that what we need? Is money the problem? Is money all that is needed to solve this crisis?
Flights between China's southern city of Shenzhen and Johannesburg in South Africa have been suspended after Shenzhen reported 25 new imported cases of COVID-19 on Thursday aboard a flight on the route. 12 of them are asymptomatic. Shenzhen has also reported one new local transmission in a medical worker was helping to detect cases on inbound flights from Johannesburg. Authorities have suspended the flights for 4 weeks after a total of 32 recent cases arriving on the route. Uganda has received 175,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines. This is the country's third consignment, with its latest one donated by the French government. The country is battling a second wave of the pandemic, which has registered more than 65,000 cases and close to 600 deaths, according to official data. CGTN's Michael Balake has more.
The AstraZeneca vaccines arrived in the country on Wednesday night local time. The vaccines come via the COVAX facility set up to deliver universal access to COVID-19 vaccines. The doses have been put in cold storage at the country's central vaccine store.
We are waiting two things. One, for the Honorable Minister of Health to officially receive these vaccines into the country, and then also receive the distribution list for these vaccines. That's when we will know how many vaccines, how many doses are going to each places. And as soon as we receive that list, NMS will be starting the distribution.
The jabs come at a time when the country is struggling to contain the spread of the virus. On Wednesday, Uganda recorded 49 deaths, according to official data, the highest in a single day. This has been attributed to persistent shortage of medical oxygen and an overwhelmed healthcare system.
We have prepared auxiliary treatment facilities like the Namboli National Stadium, Mandela National Stadium, to ensure that we accommodate largely those who are severe. And also we have provided the community home-based care, and we have also provided community prescription.
Uganda's target is to vaccinate about 22 million people. The hope is that more jabs will reduce the number of patients presenting with severe and critical conditions. Michael Baleke, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Kenya has not been spared from misinformation about COVID-19 during the pandemic. To counter false narratives, a project in the capital, Nairobi, organized a campaign against COVID-19 misinformation using art. CGTN's Joy Kirukijuma reports.
Residents of Kawangware, a low-income residential area in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, took part in an art campaign. A project meant to get the community personally involved in the process of countering COVID-19 misinformation. Over 60 children were involved in the painting of 3 murals organized by Health Studio Kenya.
The murals on corona disinformation. So for today's work, this specific piece was one we talked about during our workshop with the children before we started this program. So it's a concept that we talked about, and it was about vaccines and the misinformation that goes about around vaccines.
Street artist Brian Musasie, who goes by the name Msale, is the man behind the murals. He worked with the community for 3 months to bring the murals to life.
So we look forward to doing more of such and spreading awareness even in our communities, and just hoping eventually this work will help our people fight this pandemic better.
The 3 murals present different messages. James Kabir, a leader in the Kabiro project, says the murals have had a positive impact.
There has been a lot of miscommunication in the community. Since these paintings were started, people began seeing and appreciating the need to change their perspective on COVID-19.
The organization hopes to counter COVID-19 misinformation by educating communities in Kenya, one painting at a time. Joy Kiruki Juma, CGTN.
You're watching Africa Live. Coming up in business news. Nigeria plans to trim its import bill by 35%. And Tanzania launches a gold refinery worth $5.2 million.
This has taken me completely out of my depth, but at the same time it's exciting. It's new, it's different, it's a challenge.
It's really exciting.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Nigeria is planning to cut its import bill by about 35%. That's according to the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele. The governor is banking on the planned launch of the Dangote refinery early next year. He says the country will stop importing petroleum products and save foreign exchange as a result. Agriculture is another area Nigeria plans to focus on in order to boost local production, ensure food security and save forex. The West African nation is on a drive to diversify its economy and also reduce its heavy reliance on oil revenue. And staying in Nigeria, the real estate sector is thriving despite an economic downturn caused by the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The sector has been boosted by a combination of increased mortgage uptake as well as the devaluation of the naira, which has encouraged more Nigerians in the diaspora to invest in the property market. CGTN's Kelechi Mekalam has more.
More houses continue to spring up in the Nigerian capital, Abuja, and other parts of the country. Reports from the nation's Bureau of Statistics show that by the fourth quarter of 2020, Nigeria's real estate sector returned to a positive growth of 2.81% year-on-year. This is after falling to a four-year low after the sector shrunk by almost 22%.
We have always seen properties as the only assets, that is able to withstand the test of time. The housing sector, I think, the sector is about the only one that's been able to survive both the economic meltdown and, of course, the pandemics. And I think it's largely because every man must have a roof over their head. And technology has evolved. People are now beginning to look at automated homes. People want to live in more comfortable environment.
Nigeria's economy has been battered by the COVID-induced economic downturn, but diaspora remittances and government policies to encourage property ownership are driving the property market, and industry players say the sector has the potential to do more.
It is very marginal. When you take in terms of 21 million housing deficit, Nigeria currently does not build up to 100,000 housing units per annum for a population of over 200 million people. So the boom we're talking about, I have said to you, in terms of real estate development is very marginal. We should be doing over 1 million housing units per annum to have a boom that will actually shock the economy. Boom is not actually what we should be glorifying about.
Nigeria still has a massive housing deficit of 17 million units. That's according to data from PricewaterhouseCoopers. Experts say that ramping up housing infrastructure should be at the top of government's agenda.
The government needs to step up their game. They need to have an all-inclusive policy that can help engage both private sector and even the government. Government needs to do more on decentralizing policies, that would help loan facilities, especially single digits, more accessible as compared to what the commercial banks are giving.
Government has said it's intensifying efforts to close the gap in the housing sector. It's partnering with private investors to provide more affordable homes through easily accessible mortgage loans. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
Tanzania has launched a new gold refinery in a bid to boost output. This is after the country's president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, unveiled the Mwanza Precious Metal Refinery Gold worth $5.2 million. The factory, built by the State Mining Corporation in partnership with Dubai's Lozera company, has the capacity to process 480 kilograms of minerals per day. CGTN's Daniel Kijo has more.
With this launch, Tanzania is looking to upgrade its gold mining capacity. It is one of the 3 first-ever gold refineries to be built in the country, with the other 2 found in Geita and Dodoma regions. The new plant will be capable of purifying gold by 99.99% and refining 480 kilograms per day.
This is the biggest refinery we have. Another one has been built in Geita, owned by a Tanzanian, which can refine 450 kilograms of gold per day. This one here can refine about 480 kilograms per day. We aim to expand it to have a capacity of processing 960 kilograms per day.
President Hassan's government says it is looking to ensure the sustainability of raw materials for the refineries. She now wants the Minerals Ministry to come up with strategies to empower small-scale miners to increase their ability to collect enough raw gold. She also asked the relevant ministry and revenue authorities to remove unfriendly taxes for gold traders coming into the country to refine their gold.
Someone might come with a bag of his gold from the DRC. He is coming into Tanzania to process his gold. He is bringing in raw materials into the country, and you ask him to pay value-added tax and customs duties when it's us who need the raw materials. Let's look at changing this.
Experts in the field believe the refineries will not only stimulate economic activities in the Mwanza region, but also create intense competition with other gold-producing regions in Africa. Philbert Royemamu is the chairman of Tanzania's Chamber of Mines. He has over 40 years of mining industry knowledge, and according to him, the refineries were long overdue.
But when you send it abroad, you create jobs for others, you lose taxes for others. So having a refinery in country, its job creation is value add. It's taxes, it's people's prosperity. So it's a very good idea, and I think it was an oversight. We should have had a refinery about 10 years ago.
Tanzania has one of the world's highest gold reserves, with reports showing that it has 45 million ounces. The country's mining sector makes up more than 50% of the country's total exports, of which a large part comes from gold. Given the advancements made since the reform of the mining laws and policies in 2017, the government says it is hopeful with the addition of these refineries, its goal of increasing the sector's contribution to 10% by 2025 will be achieved. Daniel Kijo, CGTN, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
The Federal Reserve is keeping interest rates steady at near zero for now. The U.S. Central Bank also raised its projection for inflation, reflecting rising prices for everything from groceries to gas. Giles Gibson reports from Washington.
As the US drops coronavirus restrictions, reopening everything from sports stadiums to cinemas, inflation is pushing up prices for everyday goods. The Fed's bond buying program is also pumping tens of billions of dollars into the economy every month. But Fed Chair Jerome Powell gave no indication the rumored tapering or easing off is coming anytime soon.
Today, the Federal Open Market Committee kept interest rates near zero and maintained our asset purchases. These measures, along with our strong guidance on interest rates and on our balance sheet, will ensure that monetary policy will continue to deliver powerful support to the economy until the recovery is complete.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden is returning to Washington from his first foreign trip, with his next economic package still stuck in the mud.
President Biden's proposed $2.3 trillion infrastructure package has been whittled down bit by bit. A bipartisan group of 10 US senators is currently working on a $1 trillion plan, but they'd still need to bring another 50 senators on board to pass it.
Meanwhile, a key indicator of inflation rose at the fastest rate on record between May 2020 and May 2021. The Fed, though, says rising prices at the gas pumps and supermarkets should be temporary.
As the reopening continues, shifts in demand can be large and rapid, and bottlenecks, hiring difficulties, and other constraints could continue to limit how quickly supply can adjust, raising the possibility that inflation could turn out to be higher and more persistent than we expect.
If inflation doesn't level out, the Fed could be forced to raise interest rates much sooner than planned. Giles Gibson for CGTN in Washington.
The European Union has launched its $910 billion coronavirus recovery plan. $167 billion of that is due to go to Spain. Its economy was one of the hardest hit during the pandemic. Raul Patak reports from Madrid.
A historic agreement, one that could have far-reaching consequences for the economy of Spain. The Next Generation EU fund was drawn up a year ago as a response to the financial fallout of the pandemic. Its focus on large-scale investment in green energy and digitalisation was initially proposed by Spain and Portugal. 12 months on, the plan is ready to be activated, having formally been agreed upon by all 27 EU member states.
The recovery plan is the most ambitious economic plan in Spain's recent economic history, and therefore I would like to be very clear. This plan is the greatest opportunity for Spain since Spain joined the European Union, and that was 37 years ago. Therefore, opportunities like this only arise a few times a century at most, and this opportunity Spain is not going to let pass.
Now, Spain will be one of the biggest beneficiaries, receiving $167 billion in total, half coming in direct payments, the other half coming in the form of loans and grants spread over 5 years, reflecting the fact that Spain was Europe's hardest hit economy during the pandemic.
And in a way, it goes in line with what most other countries in the world are doing when they have the capability of applying significant changes to their economy. So that's what we're seeing now. I mean, both in, for example, in China or in the United States or in many other parts of the world. If you're going to be spending all this money, try to spend it on something that will have a long-lasting effect, a long-term effect. And that means probably modernizing your infrastructure, helping on the digitalization.
Another major focus will be the green economy. Spain plans to switch entirely to renewable energy by 2050, with an additional $16 billion set aside to boost electric vehicle use. The government will look to receive its first payment of funds towards the end of the year, just as most EU member states intend to reach a 100% vaccination rate. If this coincides, then the country could expect a much-needed bounce back from the pandemic. Rahul Pathak, CGTN, Madrid.
You're watching Africa Live. We're taking a short break. Coming up, Germany prepares to return looted artifacts to Nigeria. What do locals think about this initiative?
Join us in global business and see Africa through our eyes.
You're watching breaking news on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Artifacts that were looted during the colonial era will finally be making their way back to Africa. Recently, Nigeria and Germany committed to substantive returns of the Benin bronzes that were taken by the British Army in the late 1800s. The first returns are planned for 2022. CGTN's Deji Badmas reports on how the initiative is being received in Nigeria.
If there's one place where you would expect an open excitement over the plan to return Nigeria's looted artifacts, it's among the country's arts community. But the reception to the idea has been mixed and tempered.
And looking at those artworks, they depict intelligence, they depict intellectualism, they depict dignity, they depict hard work, they depict wealth, they depict so many things. And to have them back is a plus.
But I still think they needed to educate some people who can look after it. They should send some younger people for training, how they can keep it in a certain temperature, so they will be able to maintain it. There is no capacity yet, I will tell you. I'm into art, and I know what we have and what we can maintain. The art of maintenance in Nigeria is still a bit low.
Indeed, maintaining the artifacts when they're eventually returned has been a key issue for art patrons like Yemisi Shilon, one of the biggest individual art collectors in Nigeria.
So my problem is, to what extent have we prepared the environment and the ambience for receiving those works? To what extent have we trained people to take care of, to conserve those works? To what extent do we have people who are very interested in these works and are publishing papers and would rather want those works to be around us so that it will be easier for research? My problem is we tend to want these works back because of the value that the looters have placed on these works, the investment they have made over the years. But I keep asking you, what investment have you made with the ones with you that were not looted?
British troops invaded the ancient Benin Kingdom in present-day Edo State, southern Nigeria in 1897, looting thousands of artworks known as the Benin bronzes. Some of the bronzes were later auctioned to museums and private collectors across Europe. The artifacts hold deep cultural significance, and there's been growing international pressure to return them. Institutions in Britain, Germany, the Netherlands, and a host of countries have now committed to returning the stolen artifacts.
If you take away the artwork of a people from them, it's like you have taken their historical record away from them, because there's a way we connect to our history through those artworks. And if that is taken away, you know what that means. You may lose memory of all your past glories.
The British Museum has committed to assist in building a museum in the southern city of Benin, where the returned artifacts are expected to be kept. But not many are convinced that will be enough to guarantee their safety and maintenance. Deji Badmas, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
Coming up in sports news. Meet the Egyptian woman trying to fight stigma by training men on how to box.